More than often, we tend to be fascinated and attracted by the macabre and the horrifying, especially in the form of terrifying stories. We normally consume them by watching movies, TV series, or even books. But recently, I decided to consume this type of story in a way that I've strangely never tried. Through mangas, horror mangas to be precise. So I've started doing some research on the matter, and pretty much every website, forum, and article led my curiosity to one mangaka in particular, Junji Ito. Ito is considered by most to be the king of horror manga, a sort of Stephen King of the genre, and I'd probably have to agree with this statement, because in the past few weeks I've started reading every Junji Ito story that I could get my hands on, and there are quite a few to be honest. His works feature a variety of absurd concepts and settings that captures the attention of the reader and brings us in a state of tension, fear, and anxiety, but also curiosity and interest towards these stories. So, in today's video, I've chosen 10 stories from Junji Ito's catalog that, in my opinion, are perfect for you if you're looking for something to read that will make you want to sleep with the lights on. I'll be talking about them from the least scary to the scariest one, in my opinion, of course. So just lay on your bed, turn the lights off, and let's start this list with My Dear Ancestors. Caring for our ancestors is something that is always seen as noble and sweet, right? Well, with My Dear Ancestors, Junji Ito take the concept of remembering our ancestors and carrying them with us to a whole new level. One that we would not want to witness, ever. Since it's one of his shorter stories, I won't talking much about it, cause I don't want to ruin your experience with it. But I will say that the ending was pretty macabre in my opinion. Long Dream. This one, compared to almost all the stories in this list, does not have any supernatural creatures or anything of the kind, but is terrifying nonetheless. Imagine falling asleep and experiencing time in your dreams in a different way. What for everybody would be a normal night of sleep, for you would be weeks, months, or even years spent living a completely different life in your dreams. And not only this would take a toll on your mind state, but even on your body, to the point of it becoming completely unrecognizable. Like I've said before, this story does not have any monsters to scare you, but it will make you question a lot of things. One of these is that, what if you are just sleeping right now and waiting to wake up? Fashion model. In this story, we follow Iwasaki, a scriptwriter that has a premonition that something bad is about to happen. While he's browsing through a magazine, he's shocked by the horrifying appearance of one of the models featured. He begins to have nightmares about her and feels haunted by the image of her face, which becomes more and more monstrous each time. And fate, if we want to call it that way, makes Iwasaki meet the horrifying lady. And well, if you want to know what happened, I think you should probably go check this story. Anything But a Ghost. While driving back home from work, Shigeru comes across a confused young woman who appears to be bleeding heavily. He rushes her to the hospital, but the doctors discover that the blood is not hers. A few days later, the girl comes to Shigeru's house to thank him for saving her the other day. And after that, Shigeru begins to have an affair with the girl, even though he's married and his wife is pregnant. But this is only the beginning of trouble for Shigeru. About the ending of the story, I would say that it will make you think twice about cheating, cause if that's the outcome, it's not worthy at all. The Hanging Balloons. After Kazuko's friend, Terumi, took her own life, there's been a lot of copycat suicides among her fans, but this is not the strangest thing brought by Terumi's demise. A lot of people begin to report that they've witnessed her ghost in the form of a giant floating head in the skies. This is, in my opinion, one of the craziest stories in Junji Ito's collection. It is more on the shorter side, but it will creep you out nonetheless. Remina. Having a planet named after you and all the fame and attention that this brings would be something that a lot of people would love to have. But that's not the case of Ramina. That is not a big fan of the choice of her father naming the planet that he discovered after her, and her concerns would turn out to be true when the planet named after her starts to move towards Earth, destroying everything in its way. This causes all the adoration that Remina was getting into fear, and then homicidal madness. What caught my attention in Remina is that even though we have a literal monster planet, the real monster of the story are us. It's frightening how far humans would go when they believe in something, even if it doesn't make sense at all. And another thing that made me enjoy this story even more is that, ironically, for a story that concerns on our helpless in the fact of a knowable horror, it is probably Ito's most hopeful ending, and that says a lot about his other stories. Gyo. At first glance, Gyo's story may look a little strange, with a plot that makes you remember about movies like Sharknado or any other ridiculous movie about sharks or submarine life. But if you manage to get past this initial point, you will treat yourself to one of the saddest and craziest story in all of this list. Gyo was the story that I basically consumed the quickest. Not because it's a short story, but because I was really captured by what was happening in this story. So, do yourself a favor and give Gyo a chance. And ironically, the next story is featured at the end of Gyo, and it's called The Enigma of Amigara Fault. Following an earthquake in an unnamed prefecture of Japan, something very strange is discovered on Amigara Mountain. Countless human-shaped holes are exposed by the earthquake. The scientists examining the holes announced that these holes are not natural and that they were made thousands of years ago. A lot of people are there to see these mysterious holes, and some are out of curiosity, but others out of a strange feeling, a feeling that these holes are meant for them, crafted especially for them to enter. Needless to say, some people can fight this urge, and after entering their personal holes, you will have to find out reading the story. Even though I don't recommend you to read it if you're claustrophobic, cause I am, and I can't stand the idea of entering a hole that I cannot escape. In this story, Ito's manages to take a phobia that is normally overlooked and make it 10 times worse. A must read, in my humble opinion. Tomie. In Tomie, we follow our main antagonist and protagonist, Tomie, as she manipulates and uses men to her own likings, more often than other, driving them to insanity and to murderous ways, in which she is, most of the time, the victim. I'm not gonna talk too much about Tomie, cause I'm planning on doing a separate video about this story. You should definitely give it a read. Honestly, Tomie is my favorite story by Junji Ito, but it's not its best, cause that title deserves to be given to the last story of this video, Uzumaki. Uzumaki, that literally means spirals, is Ito's most recognizable work, and is considered by many, me included, his best work yet. Some of his most iconic panels are shown in this story, and every chapter manages to get your attention and makes you wonder what is going to happen next. I found incredible how he used something as innocuous as spirals and turned them into something that is terrifying and grotesque. Honestly, after reading Uzumaki, I won't be able to look at spirals in the same way I used to. And that's it for today's video. I know that there are more series of Junji Ito and even other authors, and I'm currently trying to read them all. Not for a specific reason, just because I'm kinda hooked with horror manga right now. I had a lot of fun doing this video, so I may do more in the future if you guys want, and if I find something that I believe is worth checking, of course. Until then, think about leaving a like and subscribing to my channel. Let me know if you enjoyed this type of video and if you want to see more of it. Till then, see you next time. Bye!